One of my favorite shows is Grey's Anatomy, and I love the beginning and the end of the show where Meredith talks. Like, it's usually Meredith who talks. She does like a voiceover. And on one of them, I think it's in the first or second season, she says, "Why do I keep hitting myself on the head with a hammer? Because it feels so good when I stop." It's definitely time to stop. It's time to put the hammer down and to stop. It's time to speak up and say that you need more. Demand more if you have to.
Hi there, this is Sarah Kuhn. If you are an INFJ or in a relationship with an INFJ or related to an INFJ in any way, and you want to figure out how they operate, what makes them tick, and how to communicate with them better, this is the show for you. It's called The Quiet Ones. This is a show that deconstructs INFJs, what they are, how they think, how they feel, how they operate, and how they relate to people with other personality types. Whether you have just found out that you're an INFJ or have known for a number of years, there is something for everyone. You will learn more about your personality type so that you understand who you are and understand how you operate in the workplace, in relationships, in your family, and with friends. I want you to walk away from every episode feeling like you have a place of belonging, feeling like you are no longer alone, feeling like you have a place to be heard and seen and understood as you really are. This is a place to connect with other INFJs, to learn and grow and really thrive. I want to give you inspiration and real life strategies that are going to help you figure out how to live your best life every single day. Though INFJs are very rare, you are not alone in this world. You are not the only one who thinks the way that you do and feels the way that you do. Hear from real INFJs just like you.
Hi there, I'm Sarah Kuhn. Welcome to another episode of The Quiet Ones. Today, I want to talk to you about deserving. This is something that a lot of INFJs struggle with. We are always so focused on everybody else because of our extroverted feeling function. We pay a lot of attention to what other people want and what other people need, and we don't always spend enough time thinking or focusing on what we need. And so a lot of us end up in these really bad positions, and we're really not sure why. So I want to start with a story. I myself have struggled with this quite a bit. So I want to start with a story about my mom, actually. My mom got fired from her job a week ago now, maybe 2 weeks ago. It wasn't anything that she did wrong. She's actually really good at her job, but the company just eliminated the position that she was working in. So she goes down to the unemployment office, and I told her that she could file unemployment online, but she insisted on going down to the office. So she goes down there, and she was told that there was a problem with her unemployment because she lives in a different state than the company that she works for because she worked remote. And they were like, well, there's a problem with this, and I don't know if you're supposed to get unemployment from this state or from the state that the company is in. And she's like, so I'm not going to get employment? And this is like the first person that she's talking to, right? And the person was like, well, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like it. And my mom was like, oh, well, this really stinks. I'm not going to get unemployment. And she just accepted that. And then she called me and she was complaining because she was not going to get unemployment. And I'm like, why did you let the receptionist tell you that you're not getting unemployment? Like, that's ridiculous. Did you talk to somebody else? Did you demand to talk to somebody else? Surely there's somebody paid higher at the unemployment office. And she's like, no, why would that person not know? And I'm like, well, when you go to the doctor's office, does the receptionist tell you that you have a problem, or do you have to speak to the nurse and then the doctor and you get the right information from the doctor, right? And she's like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. I mean, I'm probably just not going to get it anyway, so why bother? I'm like, why wouldn't you bother? Do you not think that you deserve unemployment? You paid for it, right? Isn't that part of our taxes? The company paid for it at the very least, so you should definitely get it. It was something that was just so incredibly frustrating to me. So then, kind of along the same lines, she's looking for a new job at the same time. And she works in healthcare, so she never has a problem finding a job ever. So she goes to an interview, and she liked the company. And she's like telling me about it. And I'm like, okay, well, cool. How much are they going to pay you? She's like, I don't know. We didn't talk about it. I'm like, they didn't ask you how much money you make? Or you want to make? You didn't tell them, hey, I need to make this much money? And she's like, no. They said that they were going to tell me, like, when they give me an offer letter, it'll be on the offer letter. And I'm like, well, are you sure that that's going to be acceptable? Don't you want to maybe ask for more than what you made at the job before? And she's like, no, I'll just, whatever they offer is fine. And both of those stories made me so mad and so frustrated. And I couldn't figure out why, so I've been thinking about it for a few days, and I realized the reason why is that I do the same thing. For most of my life, I have done the same thing. Recently, I've been a little bit different. But for most of my life, I've done the same thing. I just accepted what I was told. If somebody told me, you're not good enough, you're too quiet, you're not pretty enough, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're not from the right part of town, you don't have enough money, you have a terrible personality, you only deserve to be paid $10 an hour or $15 an hour, I would just accept it. Because why would they be wrong? Right? And who am I to ask for more? I let people tell me what I'm worth. In this process, right? I just take what they give to me. I don't ever ask for more. I never said anything, right? Because they tell you, don't say anything. Just sit still and be quiet. Be a good little girl. Well, when you do that, when you're almost conditioned to do that, at what point are you actually going to stand up and say, no, this is completely insane. I deserve better. I deserve more money. I deserve to be paid the unemployment that I am entitled to. This is such an important point for us as INFJs because so many of us feel like we don't deserve to be treated well. And like I said before, it's because of our extroverted feeling function, we're constantly in tune with those around us, right? We go out of our way to make them happy. We want them to be comfortable. We give them everything. We make sure that they feel great and that they have what they need, especially when it's your family, people that you're around constantly. But who does that for you? It's really, really aggravating and frustrating when you start thinking about it because there's a lot of personal responsibility that's involved here. And nowadays, nobody wants to talk about personal responsibility, right? It's not a popular subject. But at the end of the day, that's the truth. You teach people how to treat you. I taught people how to treat me. Everybody does. We all do it. Every time you accept less than what you need, or even less than what you want, you tell people that's okay. You tell your husband, your wife, your mom and dad, your sister, your brother, you tell your boss, your friends, you tell them all it's okay for you to treat me like that. Every time you say, yeah, that pay is fine, whatever you're paying is fine. Every time you say, it's okay that I'm not getting unemployment, that I'm entitled to, that I paid for, I'm not going to fight it. It's okay. Every time you say, yes, I'll do the whole project at work or at school. Every time you say, yes, I'll take care of the kids all day and all night long. I don't need alone time. Every time you say, yeah, I'll do all the chores while you watch TV. That's fine. I'll do it. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you're teaching the people around you that that's all that you deserve. You're telling them that you're okay with it. And what's worse is that you're teaching yourself that too. And then you end up stressed and angry and overwhelmed, overworked, underpaid. You feel terrible all the time. You wonder why people treat you so badly. You wonder why everyone expects you to do all of the things all the time. This isn't just at home, this is at work too, or at school. You wonder why you never get a good deal. In fact, you probably call yourself unlucky. Here's another way to look at it. Another story. So imagine that your best friend is telling you a story. And he's telling you that he calls his friend to say that he's going over to his friend's house. And he says, I'm going to stop at Starbucks on the way to your house and get some coffee. Do you want me to bring you something? And the friend says, no, I'm good. I really don't want coffee. And he gets to his friend's house with his coffee. And the friend gets mad. He starts saying things like, I can't believe you didn't bring me coffee. That's so rude. You don't care about me? Like, I really thought that you cared about me. I thought we were good friends, but obviously you don't. You know that I love coffee, especially Starbucks. The nerve that you have. What would you say? I mean, if my friend was telling me this story, I would be like, dude, your friend is insane. You asked him if he wanted coffee and he said no. Why would he expect coffee then? Right? Here's the really sad part. You are the insane friend. You and me both. We're teaching people how to treat us and then getting mad when they give us what we told them we wanted. Does that make sense? We are teaching people how to treat us, right? We've taught them that it's okay to treat us poorly. So then they treat us poorly, and then we get mad that we're being treated poorly. I mean, maybe you've never said it outright. You've never said, probably, I bet you've never said, I want to be paid less than everyone else. I've never said that. But I've ended up in that situation so many times. But the fact that you never said, no, that's not okay, it's implied then that you accepted it, right? I used to work in insurance for a while, and there was this concept of implied consent. So basically, if you leave your car keys in a place where other people can get to them, like on your counter, and you live with roommates, or you bring somebody else into your house, and anybody who has access to your car keys on the counter, if they steal your car, they take those keys and they steal your car, the insurance company doesn't have to pay for you to have a new car because you left your keys in a place where other people could get to them. They call it implied consent, right? It's really bad to think about when you're like, oh my goodness, now I have to worry about like everybody who comes into my apartment. Nobody comes into my apartment, good thing. But it's the same concept though. If you're not telling people that it's not okay, then why should they assume anything else? Right? Want to learn more about the INFJ personality? Check out my book, The INFJ User Guide. It covers every question you have about INFJs. It talks about preferences, functions, strengths, weaknesses, communication, relationships, how to find your purpose specifically for an INFJ, and what kind of career is best for INFJs. Get your copy today at infjwoman.com/book. There's a link in the video description. There comes a point, though, when you have to stop. Obviously, you're unhappy because you're not getting what you deserve. And once you start to recognize that, that's when you get angry and overwhelmed and you're like, this is insane. I deserve better. So there has to come a point when you stop. One of my favorite shows is Grey's Anatomy. And I love the beginning and the end of the show where Meredith talks. Like, it's usually Meredith who talks. She does like a voiceover. And on one of them, I think it's in the first or second season, she says, "Why do I keep hitting myself on the head with a hammer? Because it feels so good when I stop." It's definitely time to stop. It's time to put the hammer down and to stop. It's time to speak up and say that you need more. Demand more if you have to. So how do you do that? Well, this is the really uncomfortable part. Especially at first. It's insanely uncomfortable. You have to go back to all of those situations where you've taught people how to treat you, and now you have to tell them there's a new deal. And it's like, hey, I know we had a contract and it was like signed because it's been there for a while. You know, we've been friends for 10 years. But I don't like how it is now, and I want to make a new deal. You have to say no. No, that pay is not fine. I will not work for that. I'm worth more. No, it's not okay that I'm not getting unemployment, that I'm entitled to, that I paid for. I'm going to keep fighting until I get it. You have to say, no, I'm not doing the whole project at work or school. This is a group project. I will do my fair share, but I'm not going to do all of it. Other people have to pitch in too. You have to say, no, I won't take care of the kids constantly. They are your kids too. You helped create them. Obviously less than what I did. But you still have to take care of them. I need alone time. You have to say, no, I won't do all the chores while you watch TV. If you want dinner, you go fix it. And you clean the kitchen too, because I'm not cleaning the kitchen. And I'm not going to lie, this part is not easy. It takes a lot of resolve to do it and to keep doing it. There are a lot of people in your life, probably the majority of people, who have benefited from you doing everything for them. And they're not going to like it when you push back. And when you say, hey, I'm not going to do this anymore. They're not going to like the new you. Some of them, if they're really nasty, they might even sink so low as to call you names. They'll start calling you things like difficult, demanding, selfish, fussy, hard to please, argumentative, picky, rude. They'll call you those things. That doesn't mean that you are those things. It's just that you're setting a boundary now and they don't like it because they're not used to it. It's important to know what's going on, though, and it's important to know that this is going to happen so that you can be prepared for it. Those words, the difficult and demanding and selfish words, and a lot like them, they're like code words. That's their way of telling you that they really liked the old you, and the new one is uncomfortable for them. And here's the really difficult part. Some of these people in your life, they might need to go. They may not be your people. They may not be the ones who are going to be supportive of this new you. They might not be the ones that you need right now. But that's okay. Because you really only have room for so many people in your life. Especially as INFJs. We have the whole introvert thing going, and we like to connect with people. So most of us don't have a whole lot of friends. But the sooner that you get rid of the ones that don't support you, the sooner you can find the ones who will support you. It's time to speak up. It is so time to speak up. It's time to say, I deserve better. Repeat that to yourself like an affirmation every time that you get stuck in a situation where you've settled for less than what you deserve. Every time it gets difficult, every time someone calls you difficult, every time you run into a challenge, remember, I deserve better. You might have to say it out loud, and it might feel really weird at first. It felt really worse when I started doing it. In fact, it was almost 2 years ago now that I hired a life coach who was also kind of like a business coach. And we went through this exercise where she was like, I want you to pretend that I'm one of those people in your life that hasn't treated you very well. And I want you to yell at me and scream at me, all of those things that you want to say to those people. And I was like frozen. I was like stuck. I couldn't say anything. I just started crying. And she's like, well, that's normal. Some people do that. And she's like, she just kept encouraging me for almost an hour. She's like, what do you want to say to that person who called you these terrible names? What do you want to say to that old boss that you had who told you that you had a crappy personality? And I'm like, I just want to say that was really rude. And she's like, no, you want to scream at them and yell at them and tell them that you deserve better. And I'm like, I don't even know how to do that. That's never been my thing to do. I've just always been the good little girl who is shy and quiet and won't say anything. And it was really this huge eye-opening experience for me, because I realized that there are very few times when I get really angry, because anger never felt safe for me. When I was growing up, I learned that you don't get angry. You don't scream and yell and throw a huge fit. You sit down and you be quiet. So now that I'm an adult, when I get into those anger situations, there are a lot of times where I just won't say anything. But now it's like, okay, I realize what's going on and I'm not going to accept that anymore. That's not okay. I deserve better. Every time I get into those situations, I have to tell myself I deserve better. And what's surprising for me is it was really difficult in the beginning. But once you have that attitude of I deserve better, you will weed some of the people out. Some of your friends might go. You might actually have to get a new job. But then you have room for new friends. You have room for friends who will treat you with respect. They won't expect you to do everything. They won't expect you to come to their house when it's an hour away. They'll be like, hey, let's meet in the middle. Or you come to my house one time and I'll come to your house the next time. When you have a job that pays you what you're worth, they don't expect you to do everything. They treat you fairly. And I mean, they give you the option to opt out of group projects because nobody wants to be in that mess, right? It is really difficult in the beginning. And if you've never done this before, it will be difficult. But I guarantee you, it will get easier and it is totally worth it. It's definitely time for you to step up and say, I deserve better. I know that you do. All right. That's all we have for today. Thank you so much for listening. I really, really, really appreciate you. I'm so glad that you're here. And I will see you again next week. So you just watched that video, and I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you want some more amazing information about INFJs, check out these videos right now. I'll see you there.